Hi, it's Betsy-Morgan, the channeling teacher. Today I would like to talk with you about what it is like at the moment of death. Yes, since I've been teaching channeling for about 35 years now, I've had the great opportunity to help many people either pass through their own death experience, recall their death experience, or talk to a relative in heaven, mediumship, after their death experience. So I would like to share with you right now, from my experience, what that moment of transition is like. I've had the incredible opportunity, sacred opportunity actually, to be with my father at the very moment of his death, holding him in my arms, with my mother at the moment of her death, holding her in my arms, and my little sister, holding her in my arms at the moment of her death. And I would prefer to use the word passing from the physical into the non-physical, into heaven, into greater love. I'd like to share with you what this moment was like as briefly as I can with each one of them, and then share with you what a remembered experience that I had from one of my deaths. And yes, you can remember these. If you want to, take a channeling class so that you can get some assistance from your guides and angels in this past life recall experience. So when I was with my father and he was making his passing from the physical ailment that we call the big C, cancer, I got to sit with him, and he was getting frail throughout the night, and it was pretty certain that he would be going within hours. I was sitting with him about 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I could feel that a moment had come. And a friend that I had staying with me came in the other room, from the other room, and she said, "I have a feeling it's time." So she sat on one side of his bed, I sat on the other, and I talked to him. Did you know that sound is one of the last senses that we lose when we go into the higher realms? So I knew he could hear me talking. And I called him Daddy, and I said, "Daddy, you can hear me, and I want you to trust me. You have always loved us kids so much. Please know that we will take care of each other." I knew that that would be what he would be most worried about. And then I said to him, "Look for your father and your mother. Look for Jesus. They will help you. Look for the light." And with that, he actually took his last breath. And in that moment, when he expired that last breath, I felt something physical move through me. And he whispered a very special and private message to me. My dad was a physician, and he always took pride in the fact that he could take care of his family financially. He was raised not real wealthy, and I think that, of course, any man, woman would want to take care of their family, so he was proud that he could do that. And what he whispered to me was, "I'll put it through you, Shug." I thought, oh my gosh, I was very broke, very poor. And sure enough, through the years, more and more income has come into my life. I've been honored, blessed in that way. And I always say, "Thanks, Dad," because I know not only is God, not only are my angels helping me, but my daddy in heaven is helping me to bring financial assistance to those I love. And after he passed, throughout that day, of course, I was crying and grieving. And at the end of the day, I sat down in the living room chair, and I had placed my keys on another chair, on a cushion on the couch. And I said, "Dad, Dad, can you hear me? With tears rolling down my cheeks. And the keys on that cushion scooted over to the side of the chair and fell off. He was telling me, yes, yes, sweetheart, I can hear you. So it was a great comfort, of course, to know that he was still there. Then my mom, short story, she was in the hospital. She was passing with heart failure. And with her last breath, interestingly enough, she looked up as if she saw an angel, and there was a tear that came down her cheek, the last tear that she ever had to cry on the earth plane. And she took her last breath, and I told her I loved her so much. And I did my grieving and my mourning, and then a few days later, cleaning out her room, she always loved to listen to the music channel on television. I asked, Mom, can you hear me? And the TV turned on to her favorite music channel and her favorite song. Are these coincidences? I don't think so. It's up to you to choose. And then my little sister had the big C. She passed into heaven from cancer. We were in the hospital. She, myself, and her son, oldest son, and I was asleep, but I felt an energy moving through me that was absolutely the worst energy I've ever felt. It was the energy of goodbye. And it was like my heart was being ripped apart, as I believe she might have been one of my soulmates. And at that moment, my nephew touched me, her son, and he said, please wake up. I think she's passing. I went over to her bedside and I put my hand on her carotid artery and I felt a heartbeat. Relieved, I said to him, no, she's still with us. But that was the last heartbeat. She always said, Betsy, pray me into heaven. So my nephew and I took hands in her hands and we said the Lord's Prayer and prayed her into heaven. At that moment, both of us with tears coming down our cheeks, he said out loud, Mama, Mama, can you hear me? And with that, the humidifier that had been sitting on the table in her hospital room for days scooted to the edge of the table and fell off. Indeed, she was still with us. She could hear us, and she wanted us to know she had made it safely to the other side. So these stories provide information for us. One very comforting fact is there's not such a thing as death. We leave our physical vehicle behind when we go to a more heavenly realm of greater love and light, where we are conscious of those that we left behind on the physical realm. And I have discovered through being a psychic medium channel that we have the opportunity for a couple of weeks to speak, to even appear in the physical, like an apparition. We have the ability to turn on music, to move objects, to make sounds, knock on windows, to let those that love us know we're okay. We're still here and we love you. So I am incredibly, eternally grateful for that. And I'm so happy I can tell you about that. My experience of my own passing was a lifetime about 200 years ago. And I was a rancher. I had a farm and I was giving someone a Reiki. I love Reiki. For all of you Reiki practitioners, thank you for what you do. I want you to know I feel that Reiki is a very sacred art, healing art, and it's very powerful. It can heal body, mind, and spirit. I had just Reiki'd someone who'd lost their mother. So my focus was on the loss of a life, the loss of the physical life. And I was sending her lots of healing energy to her heart. At the completion of that Reiki, I went into a heavenly state and I saw in seconds one of my deaths, one of my passing into heaven. And I had caught the last moments of a lifetime where I slumped down by a fence that I had been working on. I had some tools in my hands, and I'd had a heart attack. And I didn't know at that moment that I was looking at me. All I felt was extreme compassion and love. And I even felt a bit of regret that that human being did not know how beautiful he was, how loved he was, how important he was. I could tell that he'd always felt less than, not good enough. And I was filled with compassion. I poured it out, and then the realization came upon me. I'm looking at myself. That's a moment I will never forget. And so not only did I love the body and the being and the personality left behind, I let that love turn around to me and fill me up with compassion, self-love, and respect, realizing that sometimes we let an entire lifetime go by without loving ourselves. So I made a promise to myself right then and there, make it count. Love yourself a little more. And at that moment, when I released my body, I felt something warm behind my head, and I began to see light. And like a helium balloon, I just floated around, and I turned and saw a great big globe of the brightest light, like the sun times 10. And I just was pulled heart first towards that light. And the closer I got, the more love I felt. And then the I, the individual identity, just disappeared. And all I was love and peace. And it was absolutely beautiful. I think that I was given the opportunity to have these experiences so I could share them with you. Most all of us have friends or family members in heaven. I want you to know they still love you. You can talk to them. And sometimes you can even see them. Don't be afraid to talk to them. They love you. And so do I. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time. Betsy-Morgan, the Psychic Teacher.